Hello viewers, this is Dr. Qamar Cheema. My today's conversation is on Under the Surface, the hidden agenda behind PM Luxon's India visit. New Zealand's Prime Minister Christopher Luxon arrived in India amid a flurry of high-level meetings, cultural events, and strategic engagements. Officially, the visit aimed to boost bilateral trade, cultural exchanges, and to reinvigorate discussions on free trade agreement, but beneath the surface, a more complex and for India, a national security driving force was at work. Prime Minister Luxon's itinerary was carefully choreographed upon his arrival in New Delhi on March 16. He was welcomed with a static guard of honor and a warm reception by senior Indian dignitaries. His schedule included high-level bilateral meetings with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, participation as a chief guest at the prestigious Raisina Dialogue, a forum dedicated to geopolitics and global economic issues, and visit to the cultural landmarks such as Rajghat, the Memorial Mahatma Gandhi, and a revered Gurdwara. On the surface, these events symbolize deep-rooted friendship, shared democratic values, and a commitment to mutual growth. Yet, the official narrative was only one part of the story. However, a closer look reveals that the central reason behind the vision was not merely economic. Behind every handshake and diplomatic exchange lay a clear strategic message, one deeply intertwined with national security. India has long viewed Khalistani separatism as a direct threat to its territorial integrity and internal security. Despite a bilateral trade volume of just $1.2 billion, the high value placed on this visit was meant to signal that national security concerns take precedence. New Delhi was sending a clear message. Even a relatively modest economic partner can be of immense strategic importance when it comes to curbing extremist elements. Reports indicate that Prime Minister Modi was keen to use this visit as an opportunity to send a dual message. First, to Australia and other regional players, we have other friends in the region. Even if they are not our top economic partners, they are pivotal for our national security. Secondly, to the Khalistani separatists, that their activities, no matter how minor on paper, are viewed as a serious security threat. India's apprehension is not unfounded. The Khalistani movement, largely relegated to the fringes in modern India, has found new momentum abroad, particularly in Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and even the United States. These nations, part of the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, have become a safe haven for elements that India categorically deems dangerous. In a telling moment, during the visit, Prime Minister Luxon was quoted as saying, "A liberal democracy, we do not want to import politics from overseas." This statement, reported by the Hindu, encapsulates New Zealand's stance on diaspora politics and indirectly reinforces India's concerns over foreign influence. This declaration was not merely about preserving New Zealand's political integrity. It served as an assurance to India that Luxon's government was on the same page when it came to rejecting external political interference, especially from extremist groups advocating for Khalistan. On his part, Prime Minister Modi reinforced his message during the bilateral talks, stating that the New Delhi had formally requested New Zealand to stop anti-India activities by certain illegal elements, although the exact wording varied in different accounts. The underlying message was unequivocal. India would no longer tolerate the export of its internal conflicts to friendly foreign soil. Another layer to this multifaceted visit was India's intent to recalibrate its regional alliance. While New Zealand may not have been a major economic partner for India, its bilateral trade barely reaching $1.2 billion, the high-profile visit was leveraged to send a strategic message to Australia. By engaging New Zealand so vigorously, India conveyed to Australia and other regional players that it has alternatives in its diplomatic circle. The message was, we have other friends in the region and we expect our partners to help us counter any forces, be they Khalistani separatists or other elements, that undermine our security. This was a subtle yet powerful reminder that India's primary concern is national security, not merely economic gains. When viewed together, the itinerary of the direct statements and the underlying message of PM Luxon's visit reveal an intricate tapestry of strategic diplomacy. New Zealand's role in this narrative is not that of economic powerhouse for India, but as a critical ally in the domain of a national security. From the high-profile Raisina dialogue to the solemn visit at the Rajghat and the culturally significant tour of Gurdwara, every moment was designed to convey a dual message. On one hand, India's government reaffirmed its commitment to the shared democratic values and cultural ties. On the other hand, it sent an unequivocal signal to extremist group that any attempt to destabilize India's unity will be met with a robust diplomatic and, if necessary, coercive measures. Luxon's explicit statement, a liberal democracy, we don't want to import politics from overseas, not only reaffirms New Zealand's internal policy, but also aligns with India's determination to combat what it perceives as a foreign-fueled interference in its domestic affairs. This diplomatic interplay underscores the reality that while economic numbers may seem modest, the stakes in terms of national security and geopolitical influence are extraordinarily high. While the official agenda of PM Luxon's visit highlighted trade, culture, and diplomacy, the hidden agenda was clear: to fortify regional security and send a resolute message against the spread of extremist ideologies. India's strategic use of visit to counter Khalistani separatists and a signal to other regional partners like Australia that it commands formidable allies demonstrate that in today's world, national security is paramount. As both nations continue to navigate a complex geopolitical landscape, the true measure of their partnership will be determined not by trade figure alone, but their shared commitment to secure the stable Indo-Pacific region. The war in Ukraine has reshaped not only borders, but global geopolitics, with the echoes of over 400,000 lost their lives, and hundreds and thousands are injured, and millions of civilians caught in a crossfire. A ceasefire is on everyone's mind. But what does the future hold for peace in a conflict that has dragged on for years? And as key players, including Trump, Zelensky, and Putin, engaged in high-stake phone calls, is a true peace plan within the reach or merely a strategic pause? Official statements suggest that a ceasefire could have spared hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian and Russian soldiers and saved countless civilian lives. According to some analysts, if a ceasefire had been established earlier, thousands more civilians would have been alive, and many of the 2 million damaged or destroyed dwellings might still be occupied. Recent discussions have seen former President Trump engaging in phone call with both Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Russian President Vladimir Putin. All the details remain classified. Insiders claim these calls aim to outline a preliminary peace framework that on paper could end active hostilities. According to the official narrative, the plan involves gradual withdrawal of heavy weaponry, restoration of critical energy infrastructure, 1/7 of which might continue to operate despite extensive damage, and guarantees that would, at least in theory, protect Ukrainian sovereignty. Beyond the official rhetoric, a more complex and less transparent agenda is at play. Critics argue that the ceasefire plan is designed not only to save lives, but also to redefine the balance of power in Eastern Europe. Some strategic voices suggest that Ukrainian President Zelensky must eventually accept a sobering geographical reality. Ukraine's long 1,400-mile border with Russia means it will forever remain in Russian sphere of influence. In this view, a ceasefire may serve as a face-saving measure, buying time while Russia solidifies its territorial gains. Furthermore, behind the doors, there are speculations that former President Trump's recent calls were not solely about ending the conflict, but also about rendering economic interest. Some insiders claim that Trump hinted at US leverage over Ukraine's abundant mineral resources that could reshape global markets. Such statements raise questions. Could the peace process be used to funnel strategic resources to certain political or economic interests? And what does this mean for Ukraine's long-term sovereignty? While Europe has long been vocal in condemning the conflict, critics now ask, has Europe been sidelined in the real negotiations? Despite its significant contributions in providing humanitarian and in imposing sanctions on Russia, Europe's role in final peace talks appeared muted. Some observers contended that European security concerns have been overshadowed by the strategic interest of the United States and Russia. With Europe's insistence on human rights and democratic values, its input on security guarantees for Ukraine seemed to have been largely ignored in the new ceasefire framework. The European Union could play a pivotal role in ensuring Ukraine's reconstruction and guaranteeing its security. Yet its capacity to influence the final agreement is limited by geopolitical rivalries and by the shadow of US-Russia dynamics. A critical element of the peace plan is the promise of security guarantees for Ukraine. However, skeptics remain unconvinced. How can Ukraine, sharing a vast border with formidable power like Russia, ever secure a robust guarantee? It is believed that any security arrangement will be more symbolic than practical. The stark reality is that Ukraine must live with the enduring shadow of Russian military might. In the current discussions, Ukraine's security guarantee might be limited to arms supply, joint military exercises, and assurance from NATO allies. But whether these measures can truly deter future aggression is a subject of a heated debate. According to some reports, Trump's intervention was aimed at reshaping post-war influence in the region, potentially securing access to Ukraine's mineral wealth. His calls with both Zelensky and Putin were seen by some as an attempt to broker a deal that might leave Ukraine less militarily vulnerable and simultaneously open new economic opportunities for his supporters. Thus, as negotiations on ceasefire progress, Ukraine faces a dual challenge: to secure a peace that saves lives and to navigate a geopolitical chessboard where economic interests, especially those concerning mineral resources, are as pivotal as military security. While a ceasefire might spare countless lives and offer a brief reprieve from war, the deep-rooted strategic interests from Europe's overlooked role as a specter of Trump's resource ambitions ensure that the path to lasting peace will be fraught with complexities. Only time will reveal whether these hidden agendas will lead to a genuine, durable peace or merely a temporary lull in a conflict that has already reshaped the world order.